Going on now to topic 6 of module 1, we're going to look at a few word problems, and here we need to reflect on our strategy of how to do them. And we said one of the most important things was to read them carefully. So let me pause while you read number 15. Now, one of the key things after you read it is to determine a letter that we will use for the variable. And since we're dealing with Facebook users, we could use an F, and MySpace users, we can use an M. And we know our first equation will be F plus M equals 160 million. The number of Facebook users, the number of MySpace users equals 160. Now, since these are systems of equations, we need another equation. Well, they're saying that Facebook users are twice as many MySpace users, less 8 million. So these are your two equations. And you might say, what technique would I use to solve this? Well, you would take your value of F and replace that right there. So now you have an equation with only the letter M in it. You solve for M. Once you find out what M is, you'll subtract that from 160, and that will give you your Facebook. And since we're right on this page, let's take a look at example 20. Again, you want to read it through carefully and determine what letters you might use. As I read it over, the letters that you would use jump right out. A for adults, C for children. And your first equation would be the number of adults plus the number of children equals 960. And the cost of an adult ticket was $15 times the number of adults plus $11 times the number of children, and that will equal your income and there are your two equations. And you might say, how would you solve this? We'll give you a little review on this too. And probably, remember, if you multiplied every term here in this equation by, let's say, a negative 11, negative 11, negative 11 makes this a negative 11c. So these would cancel out. And remember, you'd have to multiply this. Now you could also use substitution, where you say A is equal to 960, just transpose the C, minus C. Again, you have the choice when you are doing word problems and they're not telling you specifically what method to use. All right, we'll take a look at another here. We'll take a look at 16 here. It's sort of interesting. Since we're in the winter time here, we had our first snow. So again, you want to identify letters to name the variables. Well, we have body, so we can use B for body, and head, H. And they're saying the height of the body plus the height of the head is equal to 122. Now they're saying here the body, which is B, is 2 feet longer than 14 times the height of the head. So 14 times the height of the head plus 2. And there are your equations. And for this, I just use substitution. All right, let's look for something a little different here. Again, there's lots of things. You'll have plenty to do with your practice and your quiz-me's, and you'll have some of these in your test. Well, I like these aha examples. Here we're going to blend coffee. So take a moment to read this over, and we'll see what we can come up with. So we have Mexican. I think we can use M for this one. And we have Peruvian, so we can use P for that one. So our first equation, I believe, would be the amount of Mexican, how many pounds of Mexican coffee, plus Peruvian coffee. We said that's going to be 28 pounds. Now, the Mexican is 13. The Peruvian is 11. And you're going to end up with something that is $12 for these 28 pounds. So this is the pattern, the model to follow when you do something like this. So M plus P equals the total number of pounds you want to end up with. This is the cost per pound of this, the cost per pound of this, and then this is the cost of the pounds. So again, what technique might you use? And I would suggest you might say, well, I'm going to multiply this equation, everything, by a negative 11. When you do that, this becomes a negative 11p, and these will cancel out. And keep in mind, when you multiply this becomes 336. You can put it in that way. And again, you do your subtraction and solve for one of the letters. Now you might say, why is this a aha? Well, because can you see, if you're going to have 28 pounds and this one's 13 and this one's 11, and you want something right in the middle, your answer actually is you're going to need 14 pounds of each type. And again, working through the system, you get these answers. Mexican will be 14 and Peruvian will be 14. Now these others work in a similar way. Again, we want to give you a flavor of how to do a few of these. We'll keep this one a little short.